What's going on, everyone? Happy Monday. Welcome back to the Truck Parking Clubhouse. It is Monday, January 12th. I'm your host of the Clubhouse, Michael Lombard, at Lombard Trucking everywhere on the internet. Hope you guys had a fantastic weekend. I hope your New Year is off to a red hot start. Speaking of red hot, about 36 minutes ago, the 52nd issue of Taillights. And we've officially been doing Taillights for over a year now. At this point. So happy anniversary to the Taillights newsletter, which, if you didn't know, quick fun fact, is a revamp of my family's company, the original Lombard Trucking, and their former newsletter called Taillights. It's something that I had brought back and something I'd like to fill out more of. There's a lot of driver-focused content in these old newsletters featuring Driver of the Month. So I definitely love, if you're a taillighter yourself, would love your feedback and some of your photos of you on the road. I'd love to feature a lot more of you drivers, especially our trucker members out there parking with us. But a great one. We go over some Second Amendment stuff with a trucker who's appealed something going on when it comes to drivers and their 2A rights, as well as Secretary Duffy putting North Carolina in the crosshairs with California already getting some of their dollars pinched. North Carolina seems to be next on the list, as well as some health tips, partner codes. We've got a survey in there for trucker members. We'd love for you guys to fill out. We have got those surveys out. Again, we can only improve if you guys tell us exactly what we need to do it. So definitely go check it out if you haven't already. But without any further ado, let's take it right into the clubhouse with a good friend of mine, Mr. GrindNGears himself. What's going on, brother? Happy Monday.
Hey, yes, sir. What's going on? Happy New Year.
Happy New Year indeed, man. It's glad to have you on here. Definitely luck of the draw getting you on here. You are all over the place. You've been putting in a lot of miles, so I'm stoked to be talking with you.
Yes, sir. Yeah, it just so happened to work out perfect. I was supposed to have left out today and got delayed until tomorrow. And so it just worked out perfect on time on the scheduling.
Hey, man, that happens. I mean, let's dive right into it. So, I mean, you're leaving out tomorrow, but what got you grinding gears? What got you into trucking?
COVID actually. So previous to trucking, I was in the music industry and just on DJing. My wife and I had a music lessons company, music producer, music engineer, a teacher, anything that's affiliated with music, we were doing it. And we had a 50 city tour lined up, and COVID hit. The stay at home order happened, and so all of our public events, got deleted. And our music lessons company is face to face interaction, so that went virtual. And then over that summer, we lost about 70% of our clientele. And then my dad, he was a truck driver, had a trucking company for 30 plus years. And so that was the only other thing I knew. And so due to COVID and losing pretty much that entertainment business, we jumped right into trucking.
Man, that's insane. So from DJ to coming over the road, quite the career jump. What would I always like to ask guys, like, was there a pivotal moment where you were like, where there was a day where you're like, that's it, it's got to be the CDL or nothing else, or it's like, what was like the final push that got you going, that got you like applying to CDL school, and then where'd you end up going to get your license?
Part of it was desperation because before I got into the big trucks, we were doing hot shotting. So I had a direct contract with Drive Time, Carvana, Vroom, and a few other of those companies. And so I was hauling their stuff on a hot shot setup, non CDL. And then I kind of saw what the market was doing with everybody and my mom getting into the hot shot, the non CDL space. And, my wife and I talked about it. We were like, hey, let's go hard or go home. Let's get my CDL. So I went up to Frozen Food Express out there in Dallas, Fort Worth, which is a KLLM. Went out there, got my CDL, did that company gig for a year to fulfill my agreement with them, my contract with me getting my CDL. Went to Cardinal Logistics for about 2 or 3 months, and we just did a Hail Mary and went to Landstar and did a lease purchase deal and bought a truck and everything. Of course, the lease purchase deal didn't work out, and we ended up buying our first truck 18 months after that, and it's been full force ever since.
Dude, that's awesome, man. So you got to
hmm
that's I think that's like the dream of when everybody sets out, is you get a job with that company, you get through with that contract, and you kind of branch off and
hmm
figure out your own thing. When you were with Landstar, so when you had first got your truck, only, we're live on Instagram. We get a lot of questions actually. A gentleman on Instagram just asked about his brother getting his CDL, and there's a lot of people who are always asking questions about getting a truck. What was it like getting your first piece of equipment?
So the lease purchase, really wasn't tangible because of the lease purchase, and it was just one of those deals to where you could never get ahead with it. But fortunate for me, subscribers from my YouTube channel saw my story and they saw how I was struggling. And my first truck was a 2000 Freightliner FLD. The gentleman reached out to me and said, "Hey, I have this truck. She's not, the prettiest thing in the world, but let's make a deal and the truck's yours." So we did that. I bought that off of him. Another subscriber reached out to me and said, "Hey, I see you're wanting to put work into that truck and put some money into it, but you have to sit that truck down to do so." I got a 2015 Pro Star sitting here. Buy this truck off of me. I'll sell it to you for half of what it's worth. I buy this truck for me, and then when you're done with it, put a driver in it, do what you want to do. So we bought that truck. I parked the FLD to put work into it. And then after that, I had another subscriber reach out and say, "Hey, I'm retiring. I heard you say on one of your videos your dream truck is a Freightliner Classic like your pops. And I heard your story about him passing the cancer and all that kind of stuff. But I got a truck just like it. I'll just give it to you when I retire in a couple of months." And that happened. I gave me his address. I flew out there to New York, to Jersey, and he handed me the keys, and I was on my way. My dream truck has always been a Freightliner Classic, and he just handed me the keys and said, "Here you go. Have a nice day. It'd be cool to
That
see it on your channel."
that right there is the power of social media, which just brings up the question right offhand. What got you into posting content? What made you think I got to document this? I should start a YouTube channel.
Oh, my wife has been telling me for a while because I always posted snippets here and there on like TikTok and Instagram and stuff. My wife had been telling me for a while because we came from the entertainment space, prior to trucking. And so she's like, "You'd be good at it. You already know what to do." I've worked with videographers uh, and engineers and all that stuff, on the video side of things and editing. And so she's like, "You already kind of know what you're doing. Just do it." I'm like, "Yeah, we came from the entertainment space and I like our privacy and I like being out of the limelight." And then I end up meeting a YouTuber by the name of Just Truckin'. And
Uh,
Just Truckin' was
he's the
very
man.
enticing
Yeah,
on
just
getting
just
me. And that's a whole story in itself. And Justin talked me
Justin
into it. And
Justin could sell he could sell me. He's the type of guy who could sell me a pen. Like if
yes,
when he talks, you
yes,
you listen. He's a phenomenal
yes.
gentleman.
Yeah, I just met him at a truck stop after Matt's one year. I just kept feeling something kept telling me to talk to Justin, and I kept missing him at the truck show. And I was leaving a truck show and met him at a Pilot Flying J, like 30 miles outside of Louisville. Pulled in there to get some fuel, and lo and behold, he and his wife are sitting there. So I had a conversation with them, and he's like, "Hey, sit down and join us." And just he's kind of heard my story. He's like, "You'd be good for YouTube." I'm like, "Nah, bro, I'm not." I kind of told him why, and he was like, "Look, you'd be good at it. Here's my phone number. I never met you before. Don't even know who you are. Here's my phone number. I want to hold you accountable to make sure you do it." And then while leaving that truck stop, I bump into Tim Gentry. He pulled in there too. So after talking to those two were very enticing. And then Mother Trucker poured a lot into me, like, "Hey, you'd be good at this. You got to do it." So all those guys really took us under their wing to hold me accountable to make sure I do it. And even still to this day, actually. And because of them, we are where we are now.
Dude, I love it, man.
Hmm.
That's the power of social media and the power of community right there. I'm glad you
Yes.
said that. A lot of people think, especially the creators you just mentioned, when somebody, and I know this now living in Austin, I'm friends with some people who do a lot of great stuff in the fitness space, and people think that when you command an audience like that, there's that they've somehow like risen, be like they're somehow different than all of us, when really like any of those guys you just talked about would love any and all opportunities to help people to help people where if and where they want it, in every
Hmm.
way. And I mean it's part of the reason why we have the partner program here at Truck Parking Club, why we work with guys like you. It's talking to Josh recently. I mean, it's like you and him are kind of jiving on YouTube. I've got guys all the time who are telling me, Alex himself, he's like, "You need to post more podcasts." He'll tell me all the time. He's like, "You just need to do more shows." And it's all with one of the reasons why we do the Clubhouse every week too, is just to have these conversations and get them out there just so they're posted everywhere, man. So that's awesome. So they pushed you to do it. And just from doing it, even take this, take the number of subscribers away, and
Hmm.
whatever YouTube does, I mean, you got a Freightliner Classic out of it.
Exactly. Between that and, if it wasn't for YouTube, I wouldn't be, over here working with Tim Gentry right now. You
Mhm.
know, it it was like you said, the power of social media. If it wasn't for YouTube, my cab over wouldn't be in FSC trucking shop right now, getting worked on. To where all these guys that I watched coming into the trucking game, I'm sitting right here with them working. Like matter of fact, right before the live, I was on the phone with FSC trucking. We were just chatting away. To a guys that I watched, came up watching, I'm talking to on a regular basis. I just never thought that would ever happen. And then
Yeah.
not only that, but those guys are holding me accountable to keep doing what I'm doing and to never quit and to never stop. I just never thought that. These are guys I used to watch, like, wow, that's so cool. This guy FSC's driving the cab over. Alex is doing the interviews and everything that I've watched them do over the years, I'm now doing. And that is just so cool. You know. Like I
Dude,
could not have asked for anything better.
you can't beat it. So you're leased on at Gentry and Sons now. What's that been like? What are you hauling? Where have you been rolling?
Yeah, so as of right now, we are hauling boats. As of right now, I do have a video where I haul something big bad, but we haven't released it yet. I'm waiting for him to drop his video so I can drop mine. But starting off kind of small with the boats and eventually working my way up. He's wanting to get me into the heavy haul stuff, which is my original reason for coming over to Gentry and Sons. And so I want to learn and to get into the big bad stuff, and that's what he is going to be teaching me into getting into. But it's definitely been a learning curve, and then running with Landstar, you do what you want to do because you're a complete owner operator. You just book where you want to go and do what you want to do. But with Gentry, you're waiting on a phone call. Hey, this is where you're going. So it's that there, but it just takes some getting used to, and it's also a peace of mind to where I don't have to be always on top of everything. To where they've kind of taken over that aspect of it. I guess I'm just used to being a control freak. But as of recently, we've been doing Montana, Oregon, California, um, all the states that I said I'd never go to because of the winter weather, and here I am in the winter, in that weather, going to those states. But he's definitely pulling me out of my comfort zone, to learn a lot from it.
Dude, that's awesome. I can't wait to see some stuff on your channel hauling the oversized stuff.
Hmm.
It really starts to get super fun once you start getting a little bit wide, once you start getting a little bit tall. If you got pilot cars, I never had to drive with pilot cars, but following the permits, it's
Hmm.
actually, for anybody who's ever concerned about oversized or thinking about it, um, people get out of your way more. Like if you're just doing dry van, like people cut you off.
Hmm.
And this 4-wheelers are always, they treat you like an obstacle basically. But when you're oversized, when you're like 12 wide,
Right.
and you've got the flags and
Hmm.
you've got the beacons on your side of your truck, like people get out of your way because you're not you're not
Hmm.
hammered down. Like I'd be in the right lane. You're slow rolling, sometimes going freaking 60, 65. Like people get out of your way.
Hmm.
So it's actually a little bit,
Hmm.
it's, you got to watch a little bit more. Obviously you're in your mirrors more, but you're also like people get the hell out of your way once they see those oversized banners.
Right. And it's something because with the hazmat placards, it's almost like a magnet. You can have a big old flammable explosive thing on the side of your trailer, and it's like a magnet. They just want to, it's like, what do you like, move? Get out of my way. And it's liquid, it surges and all kinds of, crazy stuff. And you're just sitting right here, just waiting to be a victim of something. You're setting
Yeah.
both of us up, for failure here.
Yeah, Matt.
But when I first went on with Gentry, he had a big boat at the yard. There's like 12 or 13 wide and like 14, 15 tall. And he was like, "Hey, ready to get your feet wet? You want to move that boat for me?" He's like, "I went and picked it up in Georgia. I'm about to go drop it off here, but if you want to take it, you can get your feet wet. On some big stuff." And I kind of looked at it. I was like, I've never done it before. And I'm kind of looking at it. And at first, I was like, nah, 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 I'm all right. And I thought about it, and I kind of built my confidence up. I was like, you know what, Tim? Let's do it. Let's go at it. And I was like, he's like, all right. He's like, you got to be careful because with these boats, any scratch, any nick, anything, it can total the whole entire boat because it's fiberglass and it costs more money to fix it than to just what do you call it, total it out. I'm like, okay, fine. I said, so but how much is this boat? He's like, it's about a $2 to $3 million boat. And I was like, oh. And he was like, and that's a career ruiner, to where anything happens to that boat. And I was like, nah, nah, forget it, never mind. And I thought about it later. I said, you know what, Tim? Let's do it. Let's go after it. Let's do this. I said, where is it going? And he was like, oh, it's going to downtown Chicago. I said, all right, you lost me again. Nope, not going to happen. Needless
I
to say, I walked away and that boat, no, 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 sir.
I'm wondering what it. Well, oh yeah, I had like a brain fart for a minute. I'm thinking, of course, Chicago's on freaking Lake Michigan. I was like, what would a $2 million boat be going to Chicago for? And then it's like, oh
That's what I
wait,
was wondering. I thought he was pulling my leg or something. I was like, oh, duh.
yeah, yeah, they've got
You
that
know,
massive freaking lake. Plenty of stuff out there. Yeah,
right.
that makes sense. Yeah, I wouldn't. I'd probably wait a little bit for that too. But that's awesome, man. Hauling boats.
Yeah.
I mean, I know boats. A lot of boat hauling goes up and down 95. You know, all the rich New Yorkers taking it down to Florida, back to Florida, et cetera. So
Hmm.
I'm not sure where he goes, but I don't know if that's a popular route, and then wherever. And well,
Hmm.
all I gotta say is anywhere boats go sounds like it's gonna be a good time.
Right. Yeah, it's definitely a learning curve. And he's ready to get my feet wet. And he's like, hey, get in and get out there. I'm like, dude, let me slow down a little bit. Let me learn the logistics of it first. Let me learn how to
Mhm.
drive a boat first, let alone haul this big old thing across the country, you know. But he's been very supportive and very helpful. It's fun.
Awesome. Well, I mean, dude, speaking of like oversized stuff, you know, we talked to a lot of our trucker members all oversized. I got to ask you because we've spoken on it briefly over the phone, but when was the first time you had heard about Truck Parking Club?
You guys had reached out to me a long time ago when you first started the venture. And I kind of seen it, I read about it, and I believed in the brand, but I just had never seen myself using it, just, hauling a typical drive in. And I just really didn't see myself using it. And so one day, where was I at? One day, oh, I was hauling tour freight. That's what I was doing. I was hauling tour freight and I was in Cleveland, Tennessee. And it was one of those deals. I had a Landstar trailer and I had to drop that to grab the customer's trailer for the tour stuff, like a power only kind of deal. And I just assumed I had done these moves several times, and I had just assumed that I could drop the trailer there, you know, go move their trailer, pick up the tour freight, and then bring it right back, which is usually the case. It's usually like 13 miles, 10 miles down the road. You pick up the load, you bring it right back, stage it, and then they grab it and take it where it needs to go. But in this particular case, there was some kind of misunderstanding. They were like, no, like once you drop your trailer there, once you grab the trailer, you're not taking it back to the staging lot. You're taking it to, I think it was Knoxville or it was somewhere further, a good little distance. So they were like, so you can't leave your trailer there. And I'm like, oh no, like, oh crap. So I'm like, how am I going to figure this out? And somehow something told me, look to see if there's a truck parking club, area in the vicinity. So I said, all right. So I look on there. But come to find out, they were using truck parking club to stage that equipment. So it was at a truck parking club lot. And so I just said, oh, this is going to be easy. So I just booked the lot right next to the trailer. Booked my space, took the trailer where I had to go, and right back, grabbed it, and I was on my merry way. The
Dude,
second
that's
time I used it was I was planning on parking overnight at a customer to drop off their load in Fort Worth, Texas. I get there, and I guess they put a gate up I had no idea about. Something I got there after hours. I'm like, oh no, I got to find a place to park. My arms are service. I got to figure this out. So something told me, oh, that's right, truck parking club. So I go in there. Y'all had a place 3 miles down the road, and so it just worked out that easy. My plan B was a truck stop, and they were fully booked. So I went on the app, and 3 miles down the road, it was even closer to my plan B. Parked there, and just woke up the next morning, dropped off my load. So you guys are coming to clutch several times.
Dude, right there, the tool for the tool belt. That's exactly what me and guys like Hunter say all the time. I was going to ask you, you coming from the music industry, I was wondering if you had like wiggled your way into the tour side of things. So you said you were doing a tour load. Whose equipment were you hauling?
It was for Clark Transfer, that one specifically. We were hauling for it was a what was it? It was for some Broadway show. I don't
Okay,
recall the name of it. It was a Spanish name. But I've done Wicked. We've done Alexander Hamilton. The biggest artist that I've hauled for, we hauled for him going to Coachella was the guy who was actually headlining at the Super Bowl here in a couple of weeks. Was Bad Bunny. So we hauled for him a couple of years ago. This is
dude.
right when I started YouTube. This is my very first videos. And that's when Justin was like, hello, dummy. That's content gold right there. And I'm like, yeah, yeah, you're right. So that was one of my very first, like a couple of weeks in of doing my YouTube. I hauled for Bad Bunny. We picked up his stuff in Vegas. sat at Coachella for 2 weeks and took his equipment back to Vegas. I've done a few celebrities after that. I just don't recall who they were. Oh, Nitro Circus. I've hauled for them. Almost got to haul for Alicia Keys, and that one ended up canceling overnight. But we've done some pretty cool stuff. Harry Styles. I think 5 Seconds of Summer, something like that. But yeah, we hauled for some pretty cool people.
Yeah, dude, that's the tour side of things is pretty crazy, and like I think for guys who might be that's a pathway for anybody I think who's driving, who's looking for like a change, or they want to, especially if they're just doing van freight or something. There's always a connection into that side of things. I met a good friend of mine's a tour stage manager for Teddy Swims, and
Okay.
I met a bunch of his drivers,
Hmm.
and his drivers were telling me they're like oh crap, like they saw my shirt. They're like, oh crap, we got to use Truck Parking Club all the time because of when we're moving. It's the middle of the night. There's nowhere to go, and
Hmm.
but the opportunities there, especially if you do want to make content in the trucking industry, like that stuff right
Hmm.
there stands out big time. I feel like the tour side, especially if you don't have kids or whatever it looks like doing those stints, it's got to be some of the most fun.
It is, and they take well, depending on the tour, they do take really good care of you. Like the Coachella, oh my gosh, that was some of the best food I've ever had in my life. They had every genre of food out there. No matter what you wanted, they had it out there. You just go out there and have a ball, eat what you want as much as you want. Sitting backstage with all the artists and stuff. Like even I'm not really too far of a modern day hip hop head, but I was sitting there next to an artist by the name of Glorilla, and my buddy was like, "You know who that is?" I'm like, "Who is that?" He's like, "That's Glorilla. Like she's the most popping rapper right now." I'm like, "Oh, okay, cool." And then after the Coachella, I listened to her music, and I was like, "Oh, dang! I was sitting right next to her. Didn't even know who she was." Will Smith and his kids were there. Just sitting right there next to all the celebrities. But you just got to act like you've been there before and not freak out. When you see all your all these celebrities sitting there.
Yeah, you gotta square up and pretend that they're not. Yeah, you got to play it cool. You got to play it cool,
Right,
or else then they start to freak out. Then they're like, oh man.
right. Get them out of here. Right.
Dude, I love it. I'm glad we were able to come in clutch for you. That sounds sick that you did the tour stuff. So I got to ask you. I mean, you came in during COVID. You've seen some of the industry's biggest peaks, going through some of its biggest valleys, especially these past couple of years. I got to ask you, and you're definitely not going anywhere. So I got to ask you, what's your favorite part? What's your favorite part about trucking? And then what do you think is something the industry needs to? What do you think the industry needs to work on the most?
Favorite part of trucking? I'm actually doing it now, and that is scenery. I'm a really big scenery guy. Just to drive through some of the like going up I-84 is one of my favorite runs, leaving Idaho, going up into Oregon.
West
That is
Coast
probably
84.
my favorite. Yes, West Coast 84. Leaving Idaho and going up through, Oregon is probably one of my favorite roads. Or taking US 93, 95, going up through Arizona, up into Nevada, like little hidden gems like that. Finding these hidden gems throughout the United States. And here pretty soon, probably Canada too. Uh, that's my favorite part of trucking, just to sit back. And my 6-year-old, he's been riding with me. And I had him, sitting back and just looking like, dude, he's asking questions. What is this? Because we live in Texas. We don't see this kind of stuff. That was his first time seeing snow and being like in a somewhat of a blizzard and seeing the mountains and the sunset and, stuff like that. I just told him, this is God made this for us just to be able to see it and to experience it. And experiencing the fresh air and seeing the fish jump out the white water and the streams at the bottom of the mountains. That is my favorite part of trucking is the scenery and getting to see all these hidden gems that you would never think even existed. Um, and I think the worst part of it, what needs to change, is what my buddy FSC always says. Being a truck driver is very predatory. When you pull into the truck stops, nobody wants you there. When you're up and down the interstate, the cars, DOT, nobody wants you on the roads. They treat you, somewhat unjust. Um, when you arrive to the shipper or receiver, they don't want you there. The guard at the guard shack doesn't want you there. The warehouse workers don't want you there. Office personnel inside the warehouse doesn't want you there. Want you there. You go to these nasty showers at some of these, truck stops and stuff. Like being treated, so unjust sometimes. It definitely takes away from the excitement of trucking. and little stuff like that. Even just being predatory with DOT to where they can put you out of service for the dumbest things. Like stuff like that is what takes away, from trucking.
Yeah, I'd say I guess if there be only because we got a great comment on here. Appreciate you jumping in, Adam, from LinkedIn. So for the LinkedIn crowd to describe kind of what you're saying would be the workplace environment, and I think that's a people bring those issues up a lot when they come on the Clubhouse. Is obviously the parking, but the showers, the truck stops, the shippers and receivers too. And these conversations actually happen on places like LinkedIn. They talk about it, and that's why the Clubhouse goes live on LinkedIn so that crowd can see it, because
Mm-hmm.
the workplace environment. I mean, in the LinkedIn side of things. So you take this is the trucking industry, and that's where you're talking with truck, especially with trucks and trucking companies. But the logistics side and the brokerage side, they talk heavy about workplace environment, and in the general kind of like professional workforce, like that's
Mm-hmm.
always a hot topic of like when it
Mm-hmm.
comes to the job field in general, like having a safe
Mm-hmm.
workplace environment, what an
Mm-hmm.
employer offers to people, like what the office is like, what the company culture is like, and what
Mm-hmm.
for a driver it's completely different, because the company culture, like, yeah, your trucking company can have culture, but that truck's out there 1,800 miles away from HQ. The workplace environment is the United States of America, and where you're
Mm-hmm.
kind of where you're going, and that
Mm-hmm.
environment does need to improve. It needs to improve,
Mm-hmm.
which means these other businesses need to improve along the way, because they're players and they're stakeholders in that environment. So I'm glad to
Mm-hmm.
hear you come on and voice those concerns. The scenery, what you love the most, and we had a gentleman on Instagram just drop a comment in there about Cabbage Mountain and stuff. That 84 stretch and what you talked about, that 93 going up through and 95 going up through Lund, Nevada. That was a route I took with an oversized load, so I didn't have to use pilot cars. That went from California to Pendleton, Oregon, and I think going down that
Mm-hmm.
gorge, that 84 gorge in Oregon could be one of the best spots to drive.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and then stuff like Hell's Canyon going through Idaho. Even like West Virginia is beautiful. What's that, like Charleston out there? Like there's just so many hidden gems out there. Even like in just north of Austin. I can't think of like the cities up there, but like north of Round Rock, northwest of Round Rock.
In Texas,
There's in Texas. There are some beautiful cities out there, and when you're coming in from like from the west, I can't think of the name of those cities up there.
yeah, you're talking like kind of hill country area, like
Yes, yes.
oh yeah,
Hmm.
and I'm just
Where all
south
the
of
rich
Austin too.
folks live.
Yeah,
Okay, yep.
yeah.
Yep, they're in the mountains and the hills where all the rich folks live. We just kind of drive through, like maybe I wish one day I could, be at this status,
Oh, yeah, out
and
by
then
Marble Falls. Like if you go to Marble
yep.
Falls area, and I think it's called there's
Hmm.
a area called Horseshoe Bay. It looks just like you're in
Okay.
Europe.
Wow, really? Well, and it drives my wife nuts. We'll be sitting there watching TV or just watching something, and I just kind of say, "Oh, that's according to those mountains, they're in Utah." Or according to that kind of landscape and that kind of greenery in the background, or blah blah blah, that kind of clay in the background, that kind of sand, this is where they're at. And like 95% of the time, I'm right to be able to say, this is where they are.
Yeah,
But
it's one of life's hacks.
exactly, yeah. Exactly. But it's just cool to be able to do that. And the other day, we were trying to find a hotel that we had stayed at for Matt's this past year, and we were trying to find it. Well, I was trying to find another hotel to stay at this coming year. I said, "What's the name of that hotel?" And so I pulled up Apple Maps, and in like three zooms, I found the hotel. And she's like, "How did you do that?" I said, "Well, just follow the interstate." She's like, "That is so annoying." I'm like, "But when you've been in several places several times, but it's cool to be able to do that to where you know where you're at, in the whole United States when you see how big it is, and passing through there several times. I've been to every state except Rhode Island and Maine. Every other state I've been to multiple times. And to be able to just, to take the family one day and say, hey, I saw this hidden gem here, jump in our RV and let's go check it out. My kids are homeschooled, so we're able to do that.
Don't
Like stuff like that goes a long way.
make the point to do that. I'm originally from New England, and I can tell you, if you have the
Really?
opportunity, take the family. There are some gems in Rhode Island, like especially if you go to Newport. There's a lot of
Okay.
old Navy history, and then Maine itself, just the entire Maine coastline, and especially if you're able to go to Canada. I mean, if you do any Canada loads up to New Brunswick, you'll hopefully have the opportunity. But Maine itself, Acadia National Park, near Bar Harbor, definitely some those are some hidden gems too up in the Northeast, without a doubt.
Yeah, because Gentry did ask me, he's like, "You got your passport?" But I already know where this is going. If you get it for me, I'll go.
And
I know why you're asking.
And for Canada stuff, yeah, if you get the opportunity, I hauled conveyor belts up to Thunder Bay, and you take the entire Minnesota North Shore, which is like, unless you're going to Canada, you would never be up there. But the Minnesota North Shore is just like, it's unrealistic how beautiful. Like once you get to Duluth, like going into Duluth, you're coming out, you come up and you look at that town and it looks beautiful, and then you follow that whole North Shore all the way up to the border, and you're just along Lake Superior, and it's like unbelievable, like that type of view, and just the idea of getting paid for it is freaking wild.
Exactly. And actually, Minnesota, that was my first time going out there a couple of weeks ago. That was one of the 3 states I hadn't been to. They crossed that one off the bucket list. So now it's Maine and Rhode Island, which I don't know if I want to do that in the truck or not, but I don't like that Northeast in the truck.
Parking stuff. Definitely keep the Truck Parking Club app in your back pocket if you're in the Northeast. Like I tell everybody, that's definitely those. It's dicey up there because it is tough. It is very just getting from if you're getting from Philly to Connecticut or whatever. I mean, it's just traffic is a different nightmare, and then there's just the parking just doesn't exist.
Right.
But
the low bridges
and the low bridges. You're absolutely right. One last question.
But it helps though knowing there's parking up there. So that's another fear I always have, the parking situation.
Bingo, we got you. So I got one last question for you before we close up the clubhouse. Just for just your advice. So if you were to talk to a guy who's getting a CDL now, or he just got a CDL, what's the GrindNGears advice to any new driver getting into the industry?
Do your research. Ask questions. If you're looking for a company to get on with, find a driver who works. Don't ask the corporate, people. Don't ask HR. Don't ask the recruiters. Talk to actual drivers, who drive for those companies. Who, if you want to haul flatbed, talk to flatbedders. If you want to haul reefer, talk to reefer drivers. Whatever you want to get into, do research and ask people who are actually doing those things, so they can actually put you on game of as to where you want to go. When you go through CDL school, network with your fellow students, because you never know which guy in class is going to hit that lick. My guys, I've had my CDL for 5 or 6 years now, and I still keep in contact with the guys from my class who I graduated with. And if one of them hits a lick or does something that's beneficial, we get a phone call and say, "Hey, I did this, and you should check it out too." So I would say research and network. That goes a long, long, long way.
Research and network. I love it. So where can the people follow along with the GrindNGears journey? Where are you at?
So GrindNGears everywhere. Grind, GRIND, the letter N, gears on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, obviously, TikTok. Been trying to get better about posting on those platforms, but I do upload. It used to be every day on YouTube, but the busy work schedule now we're doing Monday, Wednesday, Friday on YouTube. Just a daily vlog of me, my day to day, waking up to going to bed every day, on what the truck driver goes through on a regular basis.
Awesome, man, dude. I want to appreciate you coming on the clubhouse. Won't be the last time. Like I said, we're trying to take the clubhouse always to new levels. So we'll bring you on, Josh. We'll have some round tables. And before we sign off, just want to thank everybody else for tuning in this Monday to the clubhouse. And again, we partner with gentlemen just like GrindNGears, because if you couldn't tell by listening for the last 30 minutes, this is a guy who loves to help people win. He wants to leave the industry better than he found it, which is exactly what we do at Truck Parking Club. We help truckers save time and fuel by instantly reserving truck parking all across the United States. We just hit over 3,800 locations nationwide. And so if you need truck parking tonight, it's right at the bottom of your screen. You can use that promo code, all caps, GRIND20. It'll get you $20 off your next booking. But with that, guys, we will see you next week. Stay safe. Hammer down.